All right, picture this. It's the end of the quarter. The pressure is on, the stakes are incredibly high, and suddenly you get the notification. A critical project deadline has just been missed. Your heart rate spikes. What's your immediate reaction? Do you fire off an angry message? Do you immediately start looking for someone to blame? It's a really relatable, high-pressure scenario, and how you navigate this exact moment can literally either build your team up or break them down entirely. So how do we handle it without triggering that destructive reflex of blame?
Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're taking some incredible insights from the balanced leadership source material and turning them into a super practical communication toolkit. We're going to look at how to master difficult conversations using a really powerful concept called the STATE framework. If you're looking to become a more effective communicator and build a resilient, high-performing team, you are in exactly the right place. Okay, let's dive into this.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover the cost of blame, entering the learning zone, mastering the STATE framework, blame versus constructive dialogue, and, finally, fostering lasting psychological safety.
Section 1. The cost of blame and exactly why the blame game fails. Take a look at this number, 76%. According to a 2021 Gallup study from our sources, a staggering 76% of employees hit burnout at some point in their careers. I mean, that is more than 3/4 of a workforce. And you know what a massive driver of this is? It's the sheer anxiety and isolation that comes from working in a blame-centric environment. When fear is the go-to management tool, prolonged physical and emotional exhaustion are, well, practically guaranteed.
So how do you know if your team is stuck in this cycle? There are some clear red flags drawn straight from our text. In a blame game culture, mistakes just aren't discussed, they're hidden or downplayed. You see a really high fear of failure, which makes people just play it safe. You also see a ton of people-pleasing just to avoid getting in trouble, which absolutely crushes creativity and innovation. Communication gets super defensive. Basically, when self-preservation overrides actual problem-solving, your team is completely trapped.
Section 2. Entering the learning zone. Combining high safety with high goals.
This matrix, from Harvard professor Amy Edmondson, is absolutely brilliant. It lays out the relationship between psychological safety and accountability. Think about the anxiety zone. That's low safety, high accountability. That's your classic blame environment right there. Exactly where burnout thrives. But then look at the learning zone. High safety combined with high accountability. Notice how accountability doesn't drop at all? We aren't lowering our standards. We are simply raising the safety.
The big takeaway here is that the learning zone is an environment where people feel completely safe to speak up, take risks, and make mistakes, all while being rigorously challenged to grow and hit those really high-performance standards. It's the ultimate goal, because honestly, it's the only space where mental health, deep innovation, and peak engagement can all flourish at the exact same time.
Section 3. Mastering the STAT framework to navigate those really difficult talks.
Enter the STATE framework. This is your daily actionable toolkit for high-stakes conversations, like that missed deadline we talked about earlier. It's an acronym that breaks down into 5 straightforward steps. Share your facts, tell your story, ask for input, talk tentatively, and encourage testing. Let's actually walk through how to apply these using our missed deadline scenario directly from the source material.
Step 1 is share your facts. You want to kick off the conversation with objective observations, completely stripped of any emotion or judgment. For example, you'd say, I've noticed deadlines have been consistently missed over the past month. See? You aren't saying you're lazy or you don't care. You are just stating an undeniable fact. This is huge because it immediately drops defensive barriers. I mean, it's pretty much impossible to argue with the fact, right? Once those facts are out there, you slide right into step 2. Tell your story. This is where you explain how those facts actually affect you, the team, or the project. You might say something like, this concerns me because it impacts team morale and project timelines. You're framing the issue around a shared impact. You're definitely not launching a personal attack. Instead, you're connecting those objective facts to the broader mission of the team.
Next up is steps 3 and 4. Ask for input and talk tentatively. This is really where the magic happens, because you're inviting the team member into the dialogue. You ask, what challenges are you facing that might be causing these delays? Notice that tentative language, might be causing. It's completely non-judgmental and creates a really safe opening for them to explain what's going on. And finally, step 5, encourage testing, just means you stay totally open to their perspective. You are solving a puzzle together, not, prosecuting a crime.
Section 4. Blame versus constructive dialogue, building bridges instead of walls. The contrast here is pretty stark. On one side, we've got the traditional blame-based reaction. Things like, "Why are you late again?" or "Who dropped the ball?" Those phrases instantly trigger a fight or flight response. The natural instinct is to hide information just to self-protect. But then, look at the state-based reaction. "I notice a delay in the timeline. What obstacles are you facing?" It's completely different. One approach builds walls, the other builds bridges.
And this perfectly illustrates why shifting your communication style is so vital. Constructive dialogue doesn't just make people feel warm and fuzzy, it literally solves the business problem. By removing those defensive barriers, you actually uncover the real root cause of the delay. Was it a software glitch? Unclear instructions from the top? You'll never find out if everyone is too terrified to speak up. The state framework rebuilds trust and gets everyone realigned on shared goals.
Section 5. Fostering lasting psychological safety. How to build the culture.
Now, to keep your team firmly planted in that learning zone, leaders have to take some everyday actionable steps derived from our source. You've got to actively normalize mistakes as learning opportunities, maybe even share some of your own mess-ups in a team meeting. You must create a blame-free environment where the immediate question is, what can we learn, instead of, whose fault is this? Actively seek out bottom-up feedback, celebrate new ideas, and make sure everybody gets a chance to speak up.
And hey, if you need a hard business case for why any of this matters, check out this number. According to Harvard Business Review data cited in our text, teams with strong mental health and psychological safety support don't just feel better, they perform significantly better. They report a massive 23% boost in productivity, because when people aren't wasting all their mental energy on fear and self-protection, they invest it into doing truly amazing work.
I really want to highlight this powerful quote from the text because it perfectly sums up our explainer today. Mental health truly lives only in the learning zone. Well-being and high performance aren't mutually exclusive. They are deeply, undeniably linked. You simply cannot sustain long-term high performance without a rock-solid foundation of psychological safety. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought and a bit of a challenge. What step will you take today? The next time you're facing a missed deadline or a tense moment with your team, are you going to default to the blame game, or will you use the state framework to actually build trust? Challenge yourself to apply this in your very next difficult conversation. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and here's the leading in the learning zone.